It's 2:00 and I will start. We're all set and I'm letting the audience in.
Welcome to the Emergency Preparedness Committee meeting, Monday, May 5th, 2 p.m. We have with us today Chief Frankie from the Gahatz Rural Fire Protection System District. So I'm going to skip some of the beginnings today, and so we can start right out and not keep Frankie any longer than necessary.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. That's right. I have to do roll call.
Yes.
We have with us Catherine and Mary and myself and Rick. Rick's not on the committee, but Drew. No one else. Don's not here today, and Tom's not. Okay. Neil doesn't count on our committee. Oh, he counts, believe me. Believe me. Oh, yes. We are going to be going up to start with, Frankie, we're going to be going up later this week and looking at starting at the Connex on radar and looking at the first aid supplies. And from that, separating out, they really haven't been reviewed for I don't know how many years. But Catherine, Mary, and Tom and I are going to go up and kind of start sorting, and I'm going to take some of the some other boxes to put them in rather than one big cardboard box. So we can sort and label what's in each one, which I thought kind of leads into Frankie and what they are doing in terms of an event. When we're using the Connex, it's a major event. That means we've had an earthquake, we've had a tsunami, we've had something that's causing a lot of people to be displaced. And the city is limited or non-existent on this side of 101. And we've talked in the past about how much first aid should we be trying to set up out of the Connex, and how much should we rely on? Absolutely, please.
Put it in closer, I can't hear.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem. And Tom is in attendance now as well. But we kind of want to make sure that we set up the Connexes for the right amount of first aid giving, as opposed to what would happen up at the fire station.
So the preparedness supplies that we have been amassing have not been medical supplies. They have been food and some shelter provisions. Several years ago, we tried doing the medical supply, and so much of that stuff expires so quickly that we've been focusing on food and shelter more than medical supplies. Now, storing some medical supplies of things that don't expire, like roller gauze, should be all right. I expect that we will have a lot of materials that will be available for us to do some of that. Not everything in the east side of the highway is going to be, there's going to be a lot there that is of use.
Mm-hmm.
And so focusing on what we could get to people for food and shelter has been our main goal. Now we have foodstuffs south of the water, far enough in that it's safe. We have foodstuffs and water up. And we have, probably this much space dedicated to, preparedness supplies. And in those supplies, we have, little kits to give people for fire starter, with the wax and the kindling and, that they could make a small fire somewhere or meet up with a group of people.
Yes.
We anticipate that people will get to our facility and there's not necessarily any place for them to go. It'd be nice if the trolley was gonna come along and get them, but it isn't gonna happen. And having, just from some winter storms we've had over the years, to know how much debris will come down with a storm, and not knowing what happens with an earthquake. We don't have those here regularly for me to feel experienced enough to speak about one. But I'm expecting that things are going to get knocked around a lot. And so when we get our supplies, we started out with putting all the cooking stuff in one area and then trying to put all of another category. And because we try to get something different each year, they're not necessarily highly inventory. So it might just say cooking pots. So it could be small ones and big ones, but envisioning that there's going to be a lot of people to help move stuff to get set up for some way to cook and to make tarps. This last year, we asked the county for sleeping bags for children, envisioning that even though we have a lot of adults in town, a lot of the people who come to town have children, and being able to get them comfortable and safe seems like a good idea. So thinking about how you might organize the Connex there for having some space for medical supplies, some of the things that could be stored for quite a long time wouldn't hurt at all. I think trying to stay away from things that need to be replaced because they're stamping expiration dates on everything now. Actually, there was a thing on the radio this morning that said, if you have anything you keep in your cupboard related to medical, including Vaseline, you should throw it away after 2 years. And I thought, well, okay, let's just scratch off that expiration date and nobody will know. You still have to go that rule of thumb. If it doesn't look good, don't eat it. If it's something that isn't ABD cream and smells bad, don't use it. Some of that stuff, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of it left over from World War II.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think you have to think that some of the things that they tell us on the news might be from people who are selling a product.
Oh, yes.
But,
Yeah,
the
it's a
supplies,
requirement.
Yeah.
the supplies that we have amassing are the 35-year stuff. And the stuff I've seen that comes out of Utah has been outstanding. We always open something and try it to see if it's something people are going to eat. We don't have a lot of the 5-year stuff because that's really eats up the money quick.
Mhm.
And there'll be a lot of people who need to eat in order to be able to help us clear the pathways to be able to go anywhere. Now, in Newport, the name of the project is escaping me, but they set up the shelters last year, actually deployed them.
Correct.
And packed them all away. And those people, the idea is that they can move people who came to visit away. So that there's place for the people who actually are here or who need to leave. And of course, the big issue is the bridge. And how to get people from Newport over to the airport. I understand that there's some work being done on being able to use boats to ferry people across. At one of the meetings that I was at, the ODOT said that Walport Bridge will hold, might drop, but it won't fall apart, which means you can get people across it. But they used to have a ferry there as well. And so getting people available to go to get to Newport to free up a little space where we are. I haven't heard anything about anything happening to the south. And as you know, a few years ago, a simple slide.
That's right. Cuts it off.
This for a long time.
That's right.
Now, the backwoods will be time consuming to clear the roads now. When we had the Columbus Day storm, this was definitely a logging community. And when the roof went off the green chain shed at in Toledo, they took the crew, 4 guys, all with chainsaws, plenty of fuel, from 4 o'clock to 9:30 at night to get to Yahas. And of course, right behind them, stuff was still falling. But they were the people who were impacted with that all lived. It wasn't vacation time, so they all had something to contribute. Somebody who comes at the motels will bring clothing or whatever, but they're not going to be prepared to
be outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After chainsaw?
But they-
They're not gonna pack their
they're not
chainsaw.
gonna pack their I saw a picture of my yearbook. Just somebody said, "Hey, have you seen the yearbook lately?" I said, "No." Well, the parking lot at the high school, mostly pickups, all with a rifle in the back. Chainsaw in the
Bed.
bed. Yeah, anybody who didn't have that, we call them a flatlander. But yeah, so I think if you can think about doing supplies that could be medical without being too specific. I mean, I would hesitate to do things like Vaseline, bandages. I guess I would shy away from medications that require a prescription. If they were things that you can buy over the counter, and so many of those are individually packaged. You get some, I mean, for a cough, it pops out and the package stays usable for someone else. And dating it would be probably a good idea, because some people will say, "Oh, I don't want it if it's old," and some people will say, "I've been using this stuff for years and I never paid any attention." But it's going to have to be an individual decision for them on what they would be comfortable using for them.
So I guess one of my questions to you, Frankie, was, and what we're thinking about is your emergency preparedness in that facility. Are there things that you would do specifically that could only be done there that we can't replicate, say at the Connex, or take care of? I guess what we're wondering is if you have specific duties or, policies that you take care of that we don't want to overlap or step on.
Well, because of the nature specifically of an earthquake tsunami, is that we're going to be everybody is going to have a lot of turmoil. And so, whatever we, don't, expect we're going to be able to drive apparatus. So whoever's there, it's going to be most of our time, we'll be trying to get people safely up there, so they can be cared for. Because we run, a paramedic on every shift, it would be nice to have two on every shift, but having that, they would become, the medical corps, if you will, for, treating, things that while we still had some medicine too. So cardiac meds, and thinking about how somebody could be gotten out of here, for, that needed to be.
Okay.
We've been told that the, Coast Guard has been tasked with flying from North Bend straight to Salem, and that they, won't be stopping to pick up people along the way. However, if there is some dire emergency right beneath them, that will probably be able to, help. I just think it's going to be, with a lot of people having, electric heating now, that, we're gonna have plenty of stuff to burn. It's a matter of if we have plenty of enough stuff to burn. If it's winter and all of the wood is wet, and there's, and I have a thought that it would behoove us to put a trench along our property line that could be converted to, outhouse, because there's gonna be no porta potty guy come by to pick up your stuff. For sure, and having that pre-planned certainly keeps us with more ground space, for tenting. It's just gonna be a whole bunch of little cities or towns, because that's.
Yeah, people will just start grouping.
Frankie, hi, I'm Tom Rafalski. I'm a practicing physician. I don't have your experience. I work in the hospital. I don't have your experience in the field. But getting back to the dire emergencies, the medical emergencies, and the delay in transport, with the expected, again, planning for the worst, the expected trauma that we could see. And if people can't get anywhere in 2 to 3 days, then you're looking at, with 2 to 3 days, you're looking at sepsis and septic shock and things like that. So, have you, what are your thoughts, or have you gotten input from other similar communities? Getting back to having a little stash of medications, I was thinking, a small supply of, cheap antibiotics. I've got a list and the purposes and the, uses for and everything. That might come in handy, at least to buy somebody some time before they can be transported.
Well, one of the things when we thought the computers were going to cause the end of our civilization a few years ago, what we found is that, if people who take a medication regularly, go in, ask for the prescription to be refilled 2 days early because they're going on vacation. And then they wait a couple months and do that again, and the insurance company will allow that. And they had an opportunity then to, get more than they needed, but they're taking their regular medication that they already had first. So it definitely has to be a medication that they, like I take Theophylline, I've taken it for years. So if I had a 6-month supply of that, and quite a few people after that kept with their plan to try to not wait till the prescription had to be filled so that they would have some. Now, that only works for people who are on a regular medication. what we know is that the pharmacy, for example, in Walport, doesn't have a lot of medications. I mean, a truck brings it to them regularly. So I don't know, of course, that keeps everything nice and fresh. But I don't know if they could supply any antibiotics.
I could get, I could get anything we need.
Yeah,
You know,
I just,
I can prescribe it to myself.
but
as long as it's
having,
not
a plan,
oxycodone.
maybe how we should be structuring that would be great. So that we could have supplies, to the best of our ability without bankrupting people.
Right.
Because some of that stuff, is expensive. The medications that we have in the building at that time, all would be medications that would have, a reasonable shelf life. So, obviously, all of that comes to an end. It doesn't all come in the same day.
Right.
And so, I mean.
And you can always add 6 to 12 months to most expiration dates. They're kind of garbage.
And I mean, if it's clear and, like with Epi, it's sensitive to light, but,
Conex.
it's going to, it doesn't stop being, usable at the day that says on the box.
Correct.
Right.
And most of the antibiotics aren't that way either. And, you know, I've got a list of 5 or 6 antibiotics that are basically generic. They've been around forever. They're pretty cheap. I could actually supply that and have a box in each Conex or something. And then if, you know, if the worst thing happens, you know, the biggest disaster, biggest tsunami or whatever, then we'll have people in town that can guide use of that, you know. Again, if somebody's, you know, got a massive wound and they're not going to get out of here for 48 hours, they're going to die of infection.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's
Yeah, we don't-
back to Civil War.
That's all we can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that.
I don't think it'd be that hard.
expiration date.
Yeah,
I mean, the same thing with the Vaseline, they put it on there because they're required to put it on there.
they all have to.
Right,
Yeah, but they're very conservative, those states.
they want you to buy more.
But, you know, so these wouldn't be prescribed, I could just have them prescribed to myself, you know, the hospital pharmacy could help me with the, you know, get this little kit set up. We could throw one in each Conex.
So, it would be great to have, some input from you on, there's some things that we, have probably fall into the right category
Yeah,
of,
you probably don't have antibiotics. Yeah, you probably don't have antibiotics at the fire stations. You got the cardiac stuff. Yeah, no doubt. As you should, yeah. But the antibiotics don't come into play for, you know, at least a day or two, but we may need it. You know.
yeah,
And then, you know, like, you know, maybe some prednisone and just, you know, some things here and there, nitro, you'll have that, but.
Yeah.
But again, maybe somebody south of the bridge can't get, you know, can't get to it, so.
well, I, with this thing that they have in Newport, that they set up and did their sample, they have, part of that plan is that they have drones with the idea that we could radio a need and that the drone could supply.
And
It sounded like they were really looking for specifically medication use.
yeah,
And
and I have a drone contact here in town,
Yeah. We have a couple of people that we
Dave
have.
Wilson and some other people, yeah.
So that's great. We should make sure that they feel comfortable with that capability of, I don't know
Yeah,
how
they have
big their
equipment.
drones are.
What it takes.
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, they had, don't, but class they gave us, it was great. They had got some funding to really do some serious planning on how to make that whole thing work.
Our city manager is very interested in doing that here And we're going to try to set something up for sometime next year to do a trial, see what happens. I think it'd be good. I mean, some of it's going to fail. We know that, but that's how we're going to learn too.
Yeah.
What we're not doing right. I think it'll be a good idea, and we're going to have to do quite a bit of preparation for that.
Yeah, we're gonna be more remote. I mean,
Yes.
Bridges down, we're gonna be more remote than most places, so.
Yeah, just that simple slide we had a few years ago made it fairly remote.
We couldn't go that way for a long time.
No,
Yeah.
no. And then when they finally got the roads cleared, it was interesting that people have been driving on freeways too long. And so all of those rules of the road about stay on your own side, loaded truck has the right of way. It was pretty interesting to see how easily they got befuddled.
Frankie, what do you think about communications in the aftermath of a big disaster? I'm thinking specifically about these scenarios where there'll be some people with major trauma and difficulties. They can't get out, but would it be possible to communicate with someone about this, about their medical condition, that sort of thing? Do you think that will be possible, not possible?
Well, communication will not last long because they're all fueled by the need for electricity. But the ham radio seem to be keeping up on being able to pass the word.
Mhm.
And at this point, the county should be supplying a lot of phone numbers for getting that to the hand. I think it's going to be fairly chaotic, but because we need the men to labor done, people will be able to be tasked, but at least be moving, maybe haven't cut wood for a long time, but we'll have plenty of wood to cut. Maybe haven't picked a lot of berries, but as the food that's in the stores and in homes, the refrigeration goes, then all the canned food will go, and probably the supplies that we might be able to bring in. Terry Thompson, long-time commissioner, set up for the coast, for the sea. We have a coast guard out there. I really don't know how realistic that is, but there's a lot of fishing boats in the fleet at Newport that will have the capability of sending stuff to the beach. Some of we've got here already. I think that there's a lot of people working on trying to keep the communication system getting it back up quickly.
Mary, were you referring to like, say, telemedicine that you can consult with?
I mean, I was just thinking about the scenarios described and, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the bigger holes at this point is going to be our communication very far away. Yeah, we have a little bit in terms of some radios from Connex to Connex, but that isn't getting us very far. We've got to be able to get farther out.
Yeah, and see, once our towers go down, I mean, we're relying on, we'll still have line of sight, but once the towers topple up on the mountain, we're going to be limited on, which is, thinking about the, how well, I don't know how many ham operators we have in Yachats today. We used to have several, I'm not sure how many there are, but I know that part of in order to keep their ham license, they have to stay active. And all the ones I've ever met are gung ho to be
Yes.
active. But there again, you know, if there isn't anybody here,
That's right.
it's a long walk.
That's a group we need to, the ham operators.
We
of
know
the-
some.
We know a couple,
couple.
yeah.
Question is, are they in town?
And what part of town do they live in?
Yeah, are they willing to help out?
Yeah, exactly.
Question about that, you know, as the towers go down, the cell towers. And I don't know much about Starlink, but is Starlink affected when all that goes down, or is that still operating?
Australia still operates, yeah, because it's satellite.
So those who have
Satellite
access to
radios.
Starlink should be
Mhm.
okay, right, that use Starlink or buy it?
Well, and then
It'd probably be a resource.
there's more and more satellite phones I know now, that, companies have, being able to partner up with someone who has satellite phones would be nice to have an inventory of that.
Because we're gonna be kind of isolated, quantity of a lot of that kind of stuff might not be necessary, but at least getting something, one or two of a lot of these things so that we can get back or get out to somebody. And because I envision us to be able to communicate fairly well around here,
Yeah,
because we're going to be a small area.
Well, I anticipate that, you know, I really wish they could give us a sample. I mean, they're running samples everywhere, but what would be happening 10 miles up the
Up the river, right?
Because, I mean, even if you walk to go someplace, if you're able-bodied, you could get over the mountain.
That's right.
And obviously, people have done that for years, or we wouldn't even be here. But the knowing what, getting everybody to have their own personal backpack
Yeah.
of what they need, what they want to know, what can work for them, is really, you just can't hardly stress that enough to people, on having that,
Yeah.
so that they have the ability to be a little more mobile, because once the trail is cut through, then,
People can start moving.
yes, you're right,
Yeah.
they'll be able to move either, and of course, because of our rocky shoreline, it hasn't been all that many years that the highway as we know it was here.
That's
You
right.
know, that was
It's
a
new.
big thing in 36.
Yeah, it's
Well, in
new.
the realms of the world, that's not very long ago. And once it gets scoured and the ocean settles down, then the beach will once again be the highway. Now, you're again not gonna be able to go very far,
Right.
but it certainly gives you the ability to get from Yachats to Walport.
That's right.
Walport's going to be pretty devastated because it's going to fall quickly. But people will be able to trek one way or the other for whatever kind of commodities they can find. And all of your favorite foodstuffs in nice little cans will be a surprise every night for dinner until the cupboards are empty. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we'll be surprised at how well we can adapt. But it's hard to know exactly what you should be saving.
mhm,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that last long. I've had a tendency for, you know, let's have some axes. We are going to have a lot of
Shovels.
people to feed. There's going to be a lot of work to do, but the able-bodied people will be able to work to get paths open, help move people. And as soon as we can get people, the quicker we can get people up to the north that need to fly out for medical reason, or just to free up space, will be a big help.
Yeah, yeah, we don't, when you start thinking of numbers of people and trying to sustain something up on the hill, we don't have very many flat areas to really work with either. If you've got a bunch of people that have moved up there, it'll be interesting how we have to start adapting some areas on people's lots and in their houses.
Oh, yeah, and of course, with an earthquake, the mountain can come down.
It's coming down. That's right.
And we might have more level ground than we thought.
It's quite possible.
Yeah, so.
Look at the fewer people, though.
I think that if we
Yeah.
can, just stay working to try to fill our connexes and get people to be, make sure you have sturdy shoes. Everybody should have sturdy shoes.
Yeah.
And gloves,
Gloves.
heavy gloves.
Yeah, just some day-to-day things that happen in a bad storm. You think about, where is my extra raincoat? And gosh, maybe should have bought one that doesn't leak, and some of those things, because the big picture is a little scary. We have to, in order to make it livable, is we have to think about what we can do for ourselves and our neighbor at the time.
Mhm.
What's the best that's going to happen?
That's right. And I think once we go through both of the connexes, not only in the medical supplies, but just in general supplies, and do a reorganizing, we're going to have room in them to put some other things in too.
Yeah,
Reassess the types of foodstuffs we have up there.
and the Connex, you can go clear to the ceiling.
That's right.
In our building, of course, we're
You have some limits.
engineered weight. I'm sure we'd fudge that, but
Yeah. You can,
Southwest Lincoln Water still has a lot of space up there, and they're far enough inland and it's nice and flat. It's going to have quite a bit of food stuff.
yeah, I think we'll be able to survive fairly well. I mean, if it's as much as anything, it's going to be organization of people.
Yeah.
And that's one
You
thing.
want a trail, today's the day you're working on
Yeah,
trail.
yeah. You have to have a number of leaders at the time to do different tasks. And that's one of the things that we're kind of working on, is setting up the protocols for the Connex, for the first person that's opening it, whoever that might be.
Whoever that might be.
They have some instructions of what to start setting up a person to do this or that, give out this. And, I mean, it's pretty subjective, but that's about all you can do, and kind of keep going over it
Yeah,
as you think about it. What's the first thing that first person should do once they open that door?
Have that list right in there when you open the door.
Exactly.
yeah.
It has to be. Yeah. Yeah. And I know, what was it, 15 years ago when they first started that, it's a lot different now than it was 15 years ago. We saw that with our water purifier. I mean, it's big water purifier, and it'll purify a lot of water, which will be great, but it's going to take some space. You got to be able to move it. It's heavy.
And you gotta be able to have someplace to put the water that is purified.
That you're purifying. That's exactly right. So we need to take some other steps.
Yeah,
And like Dave from Public Works said, he gathers a lot of large blue 55-gallon drums. I mean, yes, some of it has bleach in it, but bleach is okay for cleaning our water. So,
Yeah, a lot of those come out of Tillamook from the
Yeah.
dairies up there, so they're,
Yeah, trace of bleach is
Yeah.
a good idea.
and so I told him, well, then we need to start looking at, instead of trying to figure out what to do with them and how to get rid of them, we need to figure out how to store some of them.
utilize them.
Exactly. I mean, I see no reason to go buy those kinds of things. When we've got the ability to start creating that kind of storage. But we did learn that we've got a couple of, or we have one small water purifier. It's almost a backpack type.
Is that the county? Yeah.
It's called a tracker. And it'll put out a little over a gallon a minute, which is,
Runs on a car battery. If you want to.
yeah, so we can start pulling car batteries out and use those to charge. But it's portable, it's small, and I think would make more sense to have a couple of those so that you could have them creating water in different places. The big one you can set up as you get ready, but you've got the little ones at the beginning, you can start creating
And
some
you can
water.
take those with you if you need to.
That's
go
right.
to a
If you
group
need to
that's
move,
traveling.
you can move it.
You can move it pretty easily.
You're not gonna
They
move
talked
that.
About ordering a few more of those.
Yeah, he's looked at them and I've talked to him since, they're exactly the same as they were. They haven't
They're about
changed.
$1,500. I looked at them, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you get some kind of break on them, ordering them for city, but.
It's worth a try. It's worth a try. It's gonna go on our list for sure.
One for me.
Well, good. I think this has been good. We just need to periodically have more discussions, I think, about it.
Thanks for your time.
Yes, and
Yes,
well, maybe I can get your information and we can chat a little bit more about,
Love to anytime.
okay?
Yeah.
Good.
thank you very much,
Get
Frankie.
back to us.
Frankie, just, Frankie,
Frankie.
just a second. I'll give you this.
Okay. Under reports, we've had a volunteer form out and we've had some responses to the emergency volunteer form, the new one. Or well, actually, they've been
Thank
using
you.
some of the old one. Three? Is it 3 or 4?
Have 3.
I got one today.
Got another one today.
Todd?
She used a regular form?
Yeah. Oh, didn't she?
Let's use the new one.
Oh,
I pulled these off today. I have Todd's,
Bring
I have Lorraine's. And Lynn's.
oh, I've got a couple other people.
Oh,
And I think they used the old form right after the first announcement came out. So I'll get those to you.
yeah, forward them to me just so
Get
I know
those.
who they are.
I was keeping track. I just set up my own spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
do
Vicky,
that.
your wife filled that one.
Did she? That's right. She did. She did.
So did they fill them out and they hand wrote them?
Online.
Uh-huh. Wonder where they-
Because there might be one. I could.
Could be. Yeah, they might be buried someplace.
Yeah, our system keeps them all in the same place on the back end, so I can go through it.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Well, we're doing something with that and I think that's great.
Yeah.
We've got some contacts. It's just a matter of time of getting people used to knowing it's out there, I think. And thank you, Catherine, for that article.
In the newsletter.
Yes,
Yeah, that was great.
yes.
Yeah. I emailed, I mean, I don't know many or hardly any healthcare workers here in town, but I emailed Eddie Taylor and haven't gotten any response, you know, kind of
Okay.
asking if he's available or what capacity and all that, but maybe he's just buried in his inbox somewhere.
Good, good.
So, it occurred to me, that the nursing, place, the nursing center. Nursing
Sierra,
home place.
Sierra,
Sierra,
assisted
yes.
living.
It's assisted living place. Sierra may have, medications on site They may have, foodstuffs or ability to do foodstuffs. I just don't know what sorts of things they have.
Okay.
That could be, commandeered if need be, at that time. I mean, I know they're,
Yeah,
have to make a provision for
For
their own.
themselves, yeah.
they probably have, I've worked with a lot of nursing homes and such, but they probably have, a decent over-the-counter pharmacy there.
Mhm.
But as far as any prescription or any, prescription medications, it's probably strictly tailored to each patient or each, person that lives there.
By Ed Taylor.
I was just
Yeah,
thinking,
Ed Taylor, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking it was another, facility.
good idea, though.
That may
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
available to be
absolutely.
commandeered.
yeah, they have a large kitchen and lots of food, I'm sure.
They don't keep a lot of food on site.
Really?
They only keep a few days, if I remember right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk with the director.
Yeah,
A little
and just
bit,
see,
I
I
know.
mean, in their budget, they may have, I don't know whether they have any budget for emergency preparedness, but if they did, they could order some of that long-term food and store it there.
Sure,
It'd just be another place.
it would. I mean,
They gotta have some kind of plan.
spreading it out
I
and
bet you all their medicines are in those blister packs too, because they're not.
Yeah.
They have med aids and
Yeah.
they can't do it.
That's right.
And they're just strictly tailored to each patient. Yeah.
Again, it can be a resource for a place. There may be vulnerable people that live in homes now, but after
Mhm.
a much better place to get
Could-
them there.
get
Yeah,
them there.
That's right.
And then
Okay.
also people that can be put to use in helping with other than just the people that are right there.
and I mean, certainly it's a place where you start doubling up people in rooms and I mean,
Right.
because you've got a lot of private rooms.
Right.
That could easily
Yeah,
take other patients, plus the big dining room and
yeah.
other spaces they have.
I wonder if all those questions shouldn't be part of like the questionnaire if you're mapping your neighborhood. Do you have a satellite phone? What kind of phone system? Are you hooked up to Starlink? Are you?
Mhm.
You know, do you have a special needs person or somebody who needs something extra in your household? I know it's getting a little personal, but it would certainly save a lot of chaos.
Mhm.
I agree, and I know Jill Ash is the person that's in charge of our neighborhood. And she went around door to door asking people to fill out the forms, and I know she got a number of people that told her it was none of her business what they had. And there's some of my neighbors.
I know.
Not really?
Catastrophe kits don't come knocking on the
Well,
door.
that's why I said, all right, you remember, don't come across the street. You need some. Come on. Yeah. Yeah, that's,
One thing
Kind of the
that would work, most anybody that hikes nowadays has an inReach. Just, a satellite texting device. I take mine everywhere. And basically, it's not a voice, but it's a satellite text device. So I, always let my wife know, if I'm on a long camping trip each day, still alive, or heading home now. And other people that have them, it's all satellites. So other people that have inReaches can text to each other no matter what, as long as the satellites are still out in outer space.
mhm.
Maybe having a list of people that have those that'd be willing to be in a communications link.
Yeah, that would be good for the whole area, not just for a neighborhood, but just,
Because,
yeah.
they'll be more reliable than cell phones or walkie-talkies.
To ask, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the city could get a subscription to.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that could be added to, we have the radios, but then we also have the capability of having access to one
Yeah,
of
it's
those.
$12 a month, the subscription. for,
Yeah.
Like 50 texts or something like that.
It's a lot of money, $12 a month if you never use it, and then it could save though a lot of lives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I use it a couple times a month and it's been helpful. And there's an emergent, like, there's a red button that'll immediately call 911. You know, wherever you are, Grand Canyon or anything, you know.
Where does our 911 actually go? Does it go to Newport,
No, it goes over to the valley.
Salem?
I think so. I think it's safe.
Which then, at least it's getting, if the event has happened here, it's getting outside the area, which is
Yeah.
a good thing. Then, okay. Okay, so Thursday, we're gonna try to check on radar at least, and we'll see how long it takes. I mean, I don't want to spend the day doing that. So let's see how long it takes to get through that one.
Yeah, I got all day, whatever you need. Is there
Actually,
anything,
I'm not sure it will take us very long.
is there anything? I originally had something down for Wednesday, but is that not the case?
Oh, it was either day. I
Okay,
think that's what
I
it
thought
was.
you said, Tom, the eighth, and I said the eighth, but
Yeah.
maybe the eighth is Thursday, and not
Is it?
Wednesday.
yeah, well, no, the last meeting I put something down for Wednesday, but maybe that's just been dropped off. Yeah, so Thursday at 10:30.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Um,
That's the radar, yeah.
yeah, and since it's nice weather, I'll bring a tarp to throw out so we can take the box out and we basically dump it out and start sorting through it and put it into plastic bins that we've got at the fire station, which I'll get before we go.
Okay, I've got to pick them up if you need help.
Okay, they're nice size, smaller bins, which I think and closed very well. And I think those are going to be far more useful than
Nice.
a giant cardboard box.
We need to grab something quick, it's easier to know what's in the box.
That's, yeah,
You know,
yeah. So we'll put the
case
list on
full.
the outside of what's in it and
Yeah.
we can,
Cardboard gets damp and falls apart.
yeah, has. Okay, tabletop about the wildfire tabletop. Bobby was hoping they would do a different one since this is basically the same one we did last year. Might be different people doing it, not sure. I am working at, I should say, Red Cross, who is part of the presentation. I'm trying to set up same day, 3:00 and do the shelter class. So Rick Booth from Red Cross, I finally have a contact that will talk to me.
Is this for anybody? Just anybody?
That's anybody, everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll spread it around.
Have a few more if you want. He will do he's trying to get a couple other people, but if he doesn't, he'll do the whole presentation. We'll spend a couple hours just doing a basic overview. I thought that would be at least a good start. And then from that, we can start creating questions and things that we need to know. He asked if we were wanting to set up the shelter in conjunction with Red Cross. And I thought, why not? Which means they would bring their trailer down if we have the need. Then they have cots, they have blankets, they have a lot of stuff. That it's all dependent on what the need is. And if Walport's having one at the same time, then we're not going to get so much because they support Walport. We're inviting to the tabletop and to the shelter event, Walport. They do not have an emergency preparedness committee. They have Red Cross and they have a few people that are really interested, but they don't really have a committee that meets and does anything.
No, because in Waldport, yeah, the dynamics are different and the
Yes.
CERT group is with the fire department. And so there's not much communication with the city.
Yeah, they're going to try to set something up, I believe. So we are inviting Walport then as part of this too, so that they know. We may be combining some efforts as much as we can.
What does Newport do in this capacity?
Well, Newport has the county too.
Newport has
So-
Oh, they got-
emergency preparedness for Lincoln County.
Okay.
They have a couple of large connexes someplace full of a lot of supplies up on a hill.
Scaled up, and, yeah.
Yeah,
Again, I got the sheriff's department.
yeah, but they're supposed to be available to us for whatever, whenever too.
If they can get here.
So is Walmart gonna come to the shelter presentation also?
They're going to be invited to it.
Okay.
I don't have 100%. I'm hoping today I will hear. Um, yes, no, for sure, because I haven't put the word out enough yet. So far, my communications has only been with Rick and with city manager. So,
Right. Is it okay to put this up at the chamber?
oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes, it was. It's supposedly out a few places already, I think. Was in the newsletter or was it not?
Oh,
I can't remember.
recall seeing it.
Might not have been. I know we were surprised that they had the little flyer.
That was well done.
Yeah. First aid supplies, okay, the water fire purifier, we did that. I think it was a good demonstration. We're going to have Public Works do that a couple times a year for us. So we can get some additional people to kind of see how it operates. The big unit, they put it back in the boxes all assembled. So nobody has to learn how to put it together now. All you have to do is get it out, hook it up to the motor, fuel the motor, and start and hook up the hoses and start pumping. Cool. So we did learn, because you need a place to put the water and you need to have the water source. So we've got to do some thinking about where that monster is going to go.
And what's the yield? Is that the gallon a minute?
35 gallons a minute.
Whoa.
Yeah, it puts out water. It puts out water. So, I mean, that's once you get set up, you can really
Really go.
produce some and have it. And people could start transporting water to other areas easily then. But you have to have a water source where it is. And I think we need to, well, if we get the new water tank built farther north and up, then that needs to be in that connex. Or in that area, because that would be the water tank that'll survive. The current water tank, if it collapses, the engineers have said basically the lower 3 feet won't have collapsed. There'll be stuff, but you'll have about 3 feet of water in the tank. It won't be very clean, but it can be run, it'll be a water source. That's
What will be a
exactly what it is. So we will have something anyway.
Well, if you use the tank, but there's surely some creeks up there or something that you can run some. You do like they were doing at the demo.
There's not one right there. I need to look on the maps to find out where there's some other water sources.
And then have that much of that PVC piping that they attach to it. So that in the long run, if you need to, you could.
You could
stick it in
run.
somewhere else and pump it back.
Star Creek to Nearest One.
Gee,
It's a ways.
yeah. Or
You could look
we
on
need
the
to place it
GPS.
where, yeah, we need to place it, keep it where there is some water source.
Mhm.
For sure. They used a little plastic swimming pool as the water source, and they just looped the water in and out. We're gonna hang on to that swimming pool, probably put it in one of the connexes, because that may be a good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna have to do.
they're gonna use it for demos too, but I think frequent demos is gonna help quite a bit because we just need to get other people. Those of us that were there aren't necessarily going to be there at an event and have a clue. So
Film it, make a video. of the
That's a
demo
good
that
idea.
they're doing.
Sure.
Are interested in knowing how it works,
Sure.
they're not able to make it to one of them.
we
We should get Bertie to star, because he's really good at it.
the one lady that lives just up above the radar Connex,
Sue,
Sue, she said the instructions to assemble and to handle it, she read through them all and thought they were pretty simple. And she's one of the people that would come down to the Connex.
I mean, after the demo that they gave, I really think that I could probably make it work, which is saying something.
Mhm.
Because it was really informative and they did a good demo and
Yeah,
actually seeing it hands-on. Then I think it would click if I was tasked with putting it back together again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see a video of it.
Yeah, especially since they left it together, so you don't have to do so much.
But yeah, I want to get one of those logos.
Okay. Reorganizing, redistributing down the road. Other handout I gave us. Apparently in our EOP, emergency operating procedures, Neil found that we do not have direction in time of an emergency in there. What to do?
It references a section of code that doesn't exist in our code.
1.7, yes.
Newport has it, I think we copy pasted Newport's emergency operation. But
So you saying this whole thing?
I'm not sure.
Yes, it's 1.7.
Oh, 1.7 for Newport?
Yeah, Newport's municipal
Yeah.
code.
1.7, but then this is like several
That's
pages.
Newport.
Oh.
So you gotta copy and paste it.
So, or modify it a little bit, maybe. I think we want to modify it a little. But yes, we need to, this is something that we should be doing and get it into our EOP.
Surprised that it's not in our, well, even if it was, it's outdated. The last one we put together was when Shannon was here.
Yes,
Just,
and Bob, Ben worked on it, I know.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought about asking him what happened and we'll just deal with it. Let's just put something in there to handle it and be done.
But you have to take it to the city council, don't you, before you change any ordinance?
Yeah. But I don't think it'll be a big deal.
No, I don't think it'd be a big deal.
No.
So I'm not quite ready. Does this whole thing need to be edited and revamped?
That's from their code?
Yes,
From Newport.
yeah,
So take it and adapt it to Yahats?
yes.
That's to give us direction for the emergency to,
Gives
is there
us
an emergency?
about the declaration as much as
We
anything.
already have that. When Shannon Bouquet was here, I think it was done then.
Couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it?
We have an emergency operations plan, but
Yeah.
we didn't.
Okay.
have anything in
So
code.
that probably needs to be.
Yeah. This kind of focuses on the declaration itself and
Yeah,
what happens at that point. Who can, who can't, what emergencies.
I think so.
Just editing this kind of stuff.
Well, I was gonna volunteer to work at it, so send it back out.
Page 14 is all Newport specific.
Yeah,
Rights. Yeah.
yeah, I thought we could probably get these 4 down to maybe 2.
Use just make sure it has the tracking on it, because council will wanna know what it did say. So
Okay,
whatever changes, even if you send it out to everybody and everybody makes changes, at least they're all in different colors. But it shows what
okay,
the difference are, and that's what.
Convert it.
Because it'll have to go to the attorney first.
okay, convert it to a Word file
Yeah.
and start the editing.
Yep.
process. Okay,
Even if you're converting it from healthy to health, with the healthy,
You
It'll
know,
have-
and whatever, even grammatical, whatever the case is, just make sure it's red line.
would we have to do that, or can we just say, we are creating hours, but it's based on?
Probably easier to do that.
Yeah, That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Not have any existing code that we're changing.
No.
we're just introducing.
We're just introducing one, so we'll use this as our
So
base.
Have a new number.
They know though. Yeah.
It'll have a new ordinance number, so, and that comes from me. So as long as you're doing the document, we'll,
Do that. I'll create a Word document out of this, get rid of stuff and get it pared down, and then this will start our process.
that would be perfect.
It's
Then we could do
probably easier that way.
Yeah,
We will get way too many changes.
sounds good.
Yeah.
We could do around here first or twice, and then we get it to somebody else.
And then I'll have to put it in, keep it in Word so I can.
I will, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll follow I'll try to set up the formats that matches our EOP for
Yeah,
tabbing already, so you won't have to start over again.
Thanks, Lynn.
Sure.
Yeah.
I needed something to do.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I haven't given you a time frame that I would have it done in, so.
what's the name of that document or the title of that document?
It's out of the Newport Municipal Code, chapter 1.70, emergencies.
Oh, it just says emergencies.
That's
Okay,
it.
thank you.
And I don't have a whole lot else to really discuss. I thought what we had going with Frankie was good.
Very helpful.
I got it.
Different concept of what they're doing now than what they've always said in the past.
Right.
Because things have changed. Yeah. Yeah. We should,
How about a finance report? Is that necessary?
John's on the line.
I don't know. We have a budget. Did we spent all of our 2024-25 budget, did we not? Is that correct, Don? And then some?
Didn't think so. I was kind of waiting until we saw how the budget process went in May,
Yeah.
because we haven't seen any
No,
projections yet.
I made some suggestions for our budget to the city manager. And we've gotten a $2,500 grant so far for the Connex.
Good.
The county on that,
I have not. We were supposed to get something more, weren't we?
Where was gonna go over it first. So,
At least, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, if you could check on that, that'd be great, just to make sure we're still getting it.
Probably. I'll check the hospital foundation if they're interested in help and support some of the medications,
Oh, wow.
whatnot. I just thought of that. They may or may not. They might say.
Sure.
Or they might,
And if they need a formal application, we could certainly
Yeah.
do something. That'd be great.
they might find that a reasonable thing to do. So,
Off the agenda, but I have a couple of questions. One, are they thinking about emergency preparedness fair this year, or are we gonna skip it again?
Actually, it's up to us to decide that. Anybody have any recommendations or suggestions?
Last year, after we did it, it was recommended that maybe we check with Gulfport and combine it, because they had one, and then following weekend we had.
Oh, you mean the readiness fair?
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, so I'm on the county's Office of Emergency Management. And they were talking about the readiness fairs. And have one scheduled already, Newport, September and 27, and Lincoln City, September 13. And I asked about Yahat's, and she didn't have anything really specific to say one way or another.
Okay.
I know that from the CERT perspective, the CERT people came back after the Yachts emergency, after the Yachts fair, and said they felt like it maybe hadn't been very effective. However, we had a number of volunteers to serve that came directly from that fair. And I asked both of them what they thought about the fair. They were Yachats residents. They both thought it was very useful and very helpful. So that's the feedback I have.
Is everybody?
Nah,
No,
I don't
No
know,
point
it's
in
just
trying.
that this is May and how much work went
It's a
into it.
lot
A
of
lot
it is,
last
it
year.
is.
And, you know, you can't have an event like that if you don't get started. So my suggestion would either be, we can talk with Ballport, see what they're doing, if we can combine it.
Help them, or
It'll
at least help them
out
in some
or
way.
advertise that
Sure,
it's gonna be in Walport this year, or offer them the commons to bring theirs down here, or figure that out.
So maybe-
Or maybe have it next year.
Yeah, I think-
Skipping.
I think that's a good idea, and maybe if they respond to your invitation, that would be something that you could visit with them about.
who is the person that's kind of in charge?
I don't know. Someone could.
Ah,
I look
okay.
it up and I'll get it to you. It's in my files. on the
Okay.
computer.
Okay, otherwise we'll just go through the city manager.
Yeah.
But I had some names from up there because remember, we went to the
Uh-huh.
fair
That's right.
and it was pretty well organized.
Yeah, and one of the ladies I knew, because she was a caregiver at Sierra Assisted Living, and
Well attended, and I thought, you know, so if you can make it. And it was a lot of the same people. I mean, we
Oh,
had a lot
absolutely.
of the same vendors, a lot of the same
Absolutely.
presentations, that sort of stuff. But I think that you possibly will get more attendance of people, oh, I'll go to the one Walford, didn't they? Oh, I'll go to the one with yachts. Oh, I don't, you know, it's like, say, put it on your calendar and you have one date that you can catch this if you're interested in catching it. And but that's it. I was wondering too, Kimmy, you know, do you know how many backpacks we have left for sale, or are
Oh,
we needing to
question.
replenish any of those? Or
Lorraine would know, I'm not sure, I haven't been keeping track of that, but I think we've got about, well, she's been actually selling them, so we might have about 10,
I was gonna guess 20, but I don't know if the count, you know, for sure.
12, 13, yeah.
So with it getting down on the lower side, because we ordered 100 of them,
Uh-huh.
do we want to revisit that and do that again and have them for sale at the city still?
Good question.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Lorraine kind of how many she's been selling at a time, you know, why people are buying them, and I think she's, you know, she's keeping track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good track.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Send her an
so,
email and ask her.
because we can order, I mean, we would have to send the new logo, because, you know, they have the old logo there, but,
Yeah.
and refill them.
Sure.
But I think, seriously, people are more, I mean, there's more and more in the news about that big article. About
That's right.
that, and people are kind of listening up.
And after events like the wildfire tabletop that's scheduled
right.
here, every time there's an event, there's more interest. People begin thinking about it again.
In fact, having some at the wildfire
Mhm.
event might be good.
Well, we might be able to sell the rest of them then at that,
Yeah.
because we couldn't get it together by May 19th. I
No.
don't think this is May 3rd. Get them ordered and made, and sent, you know. Oh, and then my other question, which will forget, I'm looking at other stuff, is what about the news article for June, who's meeting, or it would be May, right, May 24th?
For the one at the end of May, right?
Do you have something specific anybody needs to know about, depending on what we're doing, what's been happening, or?
I don't have anything specific.
No, for the
Yeah,
city newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have an idea?
Well, I could just put together some other informative information, like I was thinking, emergency preparedness for pets. Do you have a
Ah,
pet in your
I think
house?
that'd be an excellent idea.
Again, maybe surveying people that have, advanced devices for communication, add that to the list.
Yeah, maybe just a really short
A short one
article
asking them?
Yeah,
asking and giving them a link to respond.
with the link to respond.
Yeah,
Yeah, people that have satellite phones in reaches, things
Yeah.
like that.
to let us know so we can help be prepared. Sure.
Okay, let me think about how I can
Okay.
present that,
You
but
can-
let's do that one then, make
You
it
can-
shorter one, yeah.
Just not much.
It's none of your business.
It's a little disappointing.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
but that, you know it.
That's why people live here, yeah.
Yeah,
It is what people.
that's,
But I think also a sense of community here, at least I feel that.
It's
People
yeah,
wanna help
Polarity.
each other.
Polarized,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
where I lived last time, my neighbors, as soon as you enter, they'd meet your car with an AK-47. So if you're coming to my house, don't miss the driveway.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was scary.
Don, did you find what you were looking for regarding the budget? Oh, lost him. Temporarily, anyway.
Yeah, he said he
He's
wanted to
there.
wait to see how the budget process.
Yeah,
in May.
I saw they canceled the meeting
Oh,
next week.
Finance.
Or that was finance,
Yeah.
not budget, that's right.
Because we're gonna get into the budget. We're there.
Yeah,
Again, what that device is called,
in reach.
in,
That's a popular one that a lot of people carry. It's a Garmin device, I think mine is, yeah. But yeah, it's all one word with the I and the R capitalized, in reach. If you Google it, it jumps out. There's,
get some information.
yeah, several models, but a lot of people, they're just hanging on their belt loop, My wife insisted I have one. Which I'm grateful for.
something else came to mind and now I've forgotten. Any comments from Drew?
Well, thanks, Lynn. I had to unmute there for a second. No, sorry, I haven't been to the last few meetings. I will attend as I'm able. And if
Of
in the
course.
interim there's anything you want me to do, communications with other business folks in town, I'm open ears for that. And we keep, as you know, when we met with Val and Heather from our property here a couple months ago now, we're staying on top of this stuff and getting as prepared as we can do in case this happens. But anyway, yeah, just let me know if you need any communications or anything to do with the other business owners in town.
Do you suppose encouraging some of the businesses to attend that wildfire tabletop to see what's really going to take place? Because roads get shut off. They go through a simulation of a wildfire, and talk through making decisions and who's doing what. I wonder if that would be of some interest. I mean, you're going to be impacted somehow when a wildfire happens up the river or down the road, either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's difficult to get much of a reaction from the other business owners because they're so
Yes.
buried in day-to-day stuff that,
Yeah.
but you never know when this is going to be a day-to-day stuff.
That's
So
right.
anyway, I'll reach out to a couple of them on that, Lynn, and I'll just see what interest there might be, and I'll it might be good to have this at one of the chamber events sometime, a discussion about this.
Sure.
So I'll
Sure.
reach out to the chamber on that too.
Okay. And I'm going to put my other hat on and ask you a question from Public Works and Streets Commission. Have you seen a downturn or a change in number of people being here in the last several months? Has it been about the same, or is it up a little, down a little?
It's a darn roller coaster right now, Lynn. We
Okay.
had the best January ever, and I guess this is the right committee to say this to. February was a dumpster fire. It it just was, I don't know what was going on, but it was terrible on the whole coast. And I don't think it had anything to do with what's going on, the election, or what's going on back in Washington, D.C., because I could have told you back in November that January was looking great and February was looking bad. And it just was bad. And I heard from the aquarium that February was their worst February in a very long time, maybe since the before the pandemic. But yeah, now April has rebounded some. So the overleaf is doing a little bit better than the fireside right now, which is kind of a head scratcher to me. If the economy is starting to soften a little bit, you think that the fireside would be picking up the rooms from higher priced properties, but and the summer's looking okay. I do advanced reservations, and the summer's looking fairly similar to last year. So I don't see there's no indication to me of a significant downturn at all. If anything, it'll be pretty similar to last year.
How was March?
Well, March is a little bit of a difficult one. Our spa was shut down for half of March because we redid our HVAC system, and our spa really affects our occupancy. And so March was down, but it's conditionally down. It may not have been down if our spa had been open, and it's pretty rare that our spas are closed for 2 weeks during the winter. We often will close it down for 1 week to do a really, really deep clean and scrub of all the tile work and stuff in there, but it was 2 weeks this year. So there's a long-winded non-answer to your question. But April was good, and May's looking pretty solid too. Again, better at the overleaf than the fireside, but kind of hanging in there with last year at the fireside.
Okay, good to know. We were asking the question of, because we didn't know how it was working with our visitors, Public Works. Our water consumption overall isn't working quite right in terms of calculating things right now. So Rick was a little interested in where things were. So, because normally we can tell by consumption of water whether things are up or down. And right now we're not able.
You or Rick can always reach out to me. Just say, hey, okay. Can you give us all? I'll give you generalities. Won't give you specifics, but generally, okay, we're up a little bit at the overleaf and about even with last year at the fireside.
Okay.
They do track at the chamber all the visitors that come through there. Nicole has those numbers.
If they check in,
come through each month
through the
keep that data.
Chamber. Okay. Great. Thank you. Anybody have anything? Oh, Don, no. Okay.
Back, so we got 32 left.
Okay.
32.
Why was I thinking 13?
Got the 3.
I'll plan on selling them.
Let's do.
On the newsletter, they're still out there.
Yeah.
The summer's coming.
Yeah.
That'll increase interest.
Mhm.
And all.
They'd be great gifts.
Sure.
I know,
Yeah.
your son said you got one.
They all got 'em. Every one of my kids got them.
He's so friendly.
I'll talk with the city manager about continuing the program since that's in conjunction with the city. Both of us doing so. If we did it, would we change anything we put in it?
So I think it's a good starter kit is what feedback I get from people.
And
I would just make sure that we distribute it all evenly. That's the biggest problem.
We made some mistakes. Yeah,
I didn't get the straw, well, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, so, you know, you wanna make sure that everything has what we say that it has in it.
I think we need a little bigger space to do that in.
Yes.
That would help us. Yeah, actually in here would be, you could just walk around this and fill. I think you'd,
Backpack, right?
yeah.
I mean, it didn't take us but a couple hours to start.
No, it went quick to do that 100. But we were a little cramped in the piles of stuff and we were,
What's the price on?
35, 30?
Almost 35.
35.
Pretty modest.
It is, yeah. And it's a break even cost.
Yeah.
People wouldn't buy them, but.
Yeah.
But we want to cover the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be more nowadays to order,
Everything's gonna be more.
yeah.
That's what my question will be is if we do them, where's the money coming from? General fund and us or?
You could get a pass on those tariffs.
Yeah, right. Okay, if we,
Extra one of these, I think. As I move around town, I'm like.
the flyers, I just gave Tom a couple extra. I can send it to you, email it to you.
I'll get
Oh,
this one.
okay.
Is that it?
With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.